Okay, good evening. The Design Review Board public meeting of August 12th, 2021 is called to order. Due to the COVID-19 novel coronavirus and the health recommendations from the Los Angeles County Health Department, the Design Review Board meeting is being conducted virtually with no members of the public present. The public is encouraged to watch and participate from the safety of their homes. The meeting can be viewed on local cable TV and is being streamlined online at the city's website at www.glendaleca.gov. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by visiting our website at www.glendaleca.gov. Records of the decisions for all projects are posted online on the Planning Division's website. Please note that any appeal of a case heard today must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The appeal application is also available online. Roll call. Board Member Minas is not present. Board Member Smith?
Sorry. I have a crazy mouse.
Yes, she's present. Board Member Simonian is absent this evening. Board Member Chagayan?
Present.
And Chair Welch?
Present.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for the August 12th, 2021 regular meeting of the Glendale Design Review Board was posted on the city's website on August 6th, 2021, and on the bulletin board outside City Hall on August 9th, 2021. Approval of minutes. Approval of the Design Review Board minutes. We have two sets this evening. One is from July 8th and one is from July 22nd. Are there any comments related to either set of minutes?
Would anyone like to move that we approve the minutes? I can't hear you, Francesca. Still muted.
Move. I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Chagayan. So would you be moving both sets of minutes or just the first one from July 8th?
Both.
Both sets. All right. Is there a second to approve the minutes? Board Member Smith is requesting to
Sorry, I can only move to, I can only second the approval of the July 8th minutes because I wasn't here for the entire meeting for the other.
Thank you. Yes.
There was I actually.
I know. We might have to continue both sets of minutes then. Thank you. Yes, we would have to continue both sets of minutes to the next meeting date. So
okay.
Thank you for making note of that. Now, next up on the agenda would be oral communications. I do not believe we have any callers in for the oral communications part, which brings us to our regular agenda for our cases. And with that said, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Chair Welch.
And I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Mansourian to present the case.
Thank you. I'll go over my report and then let me know if you have any questions. The applicant is proposing to demolish an existing one-story, 1,615 square foot single-family residence built in 1952 and to construct a new 2,906 square foot, two-story single-family residence with an attached 499 square foot, two-car garage on a 9,701 square foot lot located in the R1 zone, floor area ratio District 1. The project site is relatively flat and is a corner lot with frontage on Rangeview Drive.
Danny?
Yes.
Apologies. Do you have a PowerPoint presentation that you wanted to show us as well?
I do, but how would I do that? Should I share my screen?
Yes, correct, please.
Right. Sorry about that. All right, sorry about that.
And you can start with the first slide then as well.
Yeah, do you see it right now?
Yes, we do. And if you
Okay.
go to if you start the slideshow, under slideshow.
Where is it here? Slideshow.
There you go. And from current slide, or yes, perfect.
Okay.
Can you not show the notes?
But I can't see my notes on my right side then. I have my, well, it's okay. I'll, let me do that. Is it working?
Danny, the way you just had it a second ago will be fine. I think
Yes.
we can see it, and then you'll have your notes that you can
Okay.
read.
Is it okay right now?
Well, we can
Go
see
back
your
to the
notes.
way you had it.
Like this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, okay, I'll continue here. The project site is relatively flat and it's a corner lot with frontage on Rangeview Drive. The lot has a regular rectangular shape. It was developed with an existing one-story single-family residence with an attached two-car garage, as you can see here. And the existing house and garage will be demolished as a result of this project. These are a few pictures. The new two-story house and attached two-car garage is the site plan, are consistent with the site planning of the neighborhood, since the neighborhood is comprised with both attached and detached garages. The new garage door is oriented away from the street, which is encouraged by the single-family design guidelines. The front setback will be 25 feet, consistent with the adjoining properties. The new single-family dwelling will be 6 feet from the east interior property line and 6 feet from the street side property line towards Elm Avenue. The new house will be set back 58 feet from the rear property line. Staff recommends eliminating the circular path detail of the front entry path and providing a direct entry path towards the front entry to minimize paving. As you can see towards Rangeview, there's that circular section. The location of the driveway is appropriate. However, the width abutting the property line on Elm Avenue is 19 feet 6 inches. A condition of approval has been added to narrow the width of the driveway from 19 feet 6 inches to a maximum of 12 feet. New drought tolerant plants and trees complement the overall design. For the mass and scale, let's go to the elevations. The mass and scale of the new two-story dwelling will be larger than the existing development, but will relate to its surrounding context since the neighbor to the east is also a two-story dwelling. The new proposal is appropriate and transitions well into the surrounding context because the second floor steps back from the first floor to break up the mass. When viewed from the street, the second story is recessed from the front portion, diminishing the appearance of monumental size and scale. Go to the other elevation here. The massing primarily consists of stucco and breaks throughout the development to negate any bulkiness. The new two-story single-family dwelling has a combination of hip roofs with a pitch of 4 and 12. The new roof forms will reinforce the overall building design by using a coherent composition of hipped roofs. For more appropriate scale and proportions, staff recommends adjusting the front entry to match the porch details. Go to the front entry elevation here. The maximum height of the overall single-family dwelling is 27 feet and 10 inches, in keeping with the two-story neighborhood building to the east. The proposed architectural details, materials including stucco finish, wood corbels, a style clay roof, and overall material textures and colors are consistent with the architectural concept of the proposed house. What's the materials here? The proposed entry should be well integrated into the overall building design. Staff recommends a condition. Let me go here. Staff recommends a condition to eliminate the raised height bay of the front entry, extending the covered porch and eave height across the entry and adding an additional window at the second floor to match the two proposed windows. All new windows will be aluminum, a combination of casement and fixed and block frame windows with a stucco edge detail, which is appropriate to the style of the house. Staff recommends a condition to provide a vertically oriented window at the front facade, second floor bedroom number 3, in order to fit with the vertical orientation of the other two windows on the second floor. The trash storage is appropriately located within the existing house out of the public view. Light fixtures are located on the elevations and downspouts are appropriately placed throughout. Staff recommends that the design review board will approve this project with conditions as detailed in the staff report. We did not receive any comments during the comment period. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, I have a couple questions on the conditions. On condition number 2, it was written as provide a windowsill for additional detail and articulation. Can you explain what we're asking for here?
Yeah, actually, it's basically a section, and I think that was provided here. If you can you see
Yes.
the sill detail here?
Correct, yes.
The window sill detail. So that was actually provided. So we were able to put that in this package. So yeah, so they did provide.
So condition 2 is something that we can consider, not necessarily.
Well, I don't know that the condition was written as well as it could have been. The elevations don't show the sills that are shown on the section. We always ask for these sections so that we can ensure that the windows are recessed when they should be recessed, as in the case with a design like this. Unfortunately, the elevations still don't show sills, at least at the portions I'm looking at on screen right now. So that condition could be modified by the board to coordinate the elevations with that detail to ensure that we see the sills on the elevations.
Okay, understood. And the next question I had was on number 5, where it says consider locating exit window on side elevation. I wasn't clear on what was meant by that.
Which number was that, sorry?
It was condition number 5, and it's the last sentence in there where it says consider locating exit window on side elevation. I wasn't sure what the context was for that. Was it referring to the same bedroom as the other first part of the condition?
From my understanding, yes. So looking exit window on the side elevation.
I think because the request was to change the front window, the egress wouldn't be met with building code. So it sounded like, to me anyway, when I was reading it.
It's possible. I'm sorry, I wasn't involved with the wording of these conditions, but I believe it's a kind of a standard thing. If the windows facing the street don't meet exiting and the room that they're serving also has a window on the side, we're more open to that window on the side differing a little bit to meet requirements. In new construction, there's really not a huge reason why you can't put a window in that meets exiting requirements. So if the condition for this upper window is to, if this window were split in 2 so that we wouldn't have this horizontality, we'd have 2 vertically oriented windows. We could just make sure that condition reads that the applicant would make sure that those newly redesigned windows would meet egress, which would work fine.
Okay. Do any of the other board members have questions for staff? Board Member Smith.
Thanks very much. Is my mic working now?
Yes, it is. We can
Okay,
hear.
thank you very much. I have a couple of questions. First, normally our staff, the staff reports we receive say that the properties have been evaluated for historic significance, but they're not significant. This is not mentioned in this one. Was it evaluated?
Yes, it was evaluated. It's an oversight that wasn't included in the staff report, and we apologize for that.
Sure.
But we didn't find the house to be significant.
Okay, and could you send me that, Mr. Platt?
Send you what?
The evaluation?
We don't write out evaluations. We do background research and we make an assessment based on the architecture of the property. So we don't actually have that. And I believe that's been the case for many, many years now.
And a problem. I'm curious, do you know who the architect was or the builder?
Is this a gotcha, Ms. Smith?
No, Mr. Platt, I've asked this many, many times. Or if you don't have that information at hand, which I absolutely understand, could you talk about how this property does not embody the distinctive characteristics of the ranch style?
Well, it is a lovely ranch house, and we see many lovely examples of architecture go away, unfortunately, and it tears little parts of my soul out and perhaps others. But that is standard practice. Not every property is historic, as you know. There's kind of a joke in our field that I'm sure you're familiar with, but for the others, we have criteria for designation. They're often numbered or lettered: criterion 1, criterion A. Criterion C or criterion 3 is usually the one used for architectural significance. But the joke is that some people think we should have a criterion Q for the cute houses out there. And I'm not going to be facetious when I say this, but part of the thinking here is that this is a very nice house. It's very similar to your house, Commissioner or board member. And I think your house is a much better example of the style. And the fact that you've never nominated your house did cross my mind when I was thinking about this. Of course, that's not an official criterion or method of designation, but it's something that, like I said, crossed my mind. If you disagree with this, I guess it would be wonderful if you could let us know earlier if you have a serious concern, because we would possibly have to reconsider our decision making. But I stand behind the decision that this is not a significant work of architecture. I don't have the architect. I think I did find at least the builder. I don't remember. Oh no, the architect was, I believe it was designed by the owner, or the owner actually built it. John Weeks built it as contractor, but I'm not sure that I found who the architect was.
So I have a little follow-up. Thank you very much, Mr. Platt. Absent anything written down or provided for our review, it leaves us with this. And I don't mean to belabor this point. I have no desire to put you on the spot, but I end up spending time performing research. To tell you the truth, I believe that as a qualified architectural historian, that this property is a better example of the ranch style than others you can think of in a local historic district. And I'm not sure what would make, in this case, a ranch style house more significant for its architecture than this. It exhibits the character defining features. It has everything it needs.
This would be a magnificent contributor to a historic district. There is no definition of historically significant properties under CEQA that says just because a property has character defining features that it retains and meets many of, that it is by fiat historic. Mm-hmm. So that, there's ultimately a level of judgment in this process, as there is for any surveyor looking for significant properties in a city. And in my opinion, and I'm also qualified under the Secretary of the Interior's professional qualification standards, and I disagree with you on this property. And we may have to leave it there. But in terms of
Just thinking.
in terms of
aloud.
submitting any written work, staff has not done that in my time or before my time for each property that we review, though we do make assessments of each property, and city council would have to direct us to do otherwise. So.
Then thank you. I'll get on it. Actually, the Glendale Register, the criteria, I believe, is the property embodies the distinctive and exemplary characteristics of the style, which in this case would be ranch, the architectural type, single-family home in a post-war suburb, the period, also post-war, and the method of construction, which is wood frame. So I'm not sure what registration requirements could be higher for a ranch style house. And I apologize to everyone, especially of course, Mr. Platt, for belaboring this point, but in the absence of any evidence, we have zero evidence. So most cities do perform this in writing for properties that are subject to review for the commissions or whomever for the record. Otherwise, we have no record. And if it's a property type that's being lost quickly, it makes it a more rare type. I'll leave it at that. I will speak to my council people. Thanks very much. I did have another question.
And please also don't forget to, check in with me to talk about these things. I would welcome a conversation before we do it, hashing it out here. But I understand why you're hashing it out here also, so.
Since I haven't gotten any, I apologize. My other question was, and maybe Danny and, Mr. Massarian and Velia can explain this better. The 300-foot, the neighborhood survey, 300 lineal feet is 300 lineal feet from that property. It does not mean top to bottom. It does not mean only side to side. So I'm concerned that the neighborhood survey that we received has a number of problems and doesn't reflect the actual neighborhood. It reflects some odd dimensions. Lineal feet means straight from a point. If anyone could explain that better.
Corner houses become a little more problematic. We generally go 300 feet to the left and 300 feet to the right. And then we also include abutting properties, which would be a property to the rear. And I think the two catacorner properties. Bill, you could probably answer this better than I can.
Yes, Board Member Smith, I know that I received an email right before this meeting. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and continue the rest of the meeting while I look at your email and take a look at what's being proposed so that I can offer a better explanation when we have a moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Board Member Chagayan, did you have any questions?
No, sorry.
Okay. Okay, very good. So let us go ahead and proceed to open the public hearing and hear from the applicant on the case. Is Mr. Hagopian still here?
I think he's on the Vanik.
Unfortunately, it looks like Mr. Hagopian is no longer here. The property owner is here, so perhaps the property owner would like to speak, and then we will contact Mr. Hagopian.
They may be together. Ed was speaking through Vanik's window earlier, so.
Mr. Abelian? Mr. Abelian?
Mr. Abelian, you're on mute, so if you can unmute yourself, we can hear you, so we can hear you.
And I've sent a request to unmute, so I'm hoping.
Danny, if you have Ed's contact information on the application, if he doesn't.
You hear me?
There we go.
Yes, Mr. Abelian, hello. You're live with the Design Review Board. Do you have Mr. Hagopian with you?
Yes, he needs to talk to you. Can
Yes,
you hold on a second?
yes, please.
Vilya and board members, this is Edward Hagobian. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you. Thank you.
Okay. I was sitting in my office and I was waiting my turn to start to talk, but we missed some of your conversations. And however, if you have any questions, I can answer. But if I have to explain this project that we started year 2019, we went through a lengthy process of making changes and changes. And one of these major changes was to have the second story to have a tier back, a setback from the first level. That was totally changing this project. Then we had some other corrections that all of those I have incorporated in the plans. And I have no problem with all the conditions except the very first condition to reduce the height of the entrance. That I believe I sent an email to Vilya, to board members, to see that what has been the history of these entrances that I have passed maybe more than 200 or 300 projects in the city of Glendale. And this is the one that has the lowest height compared to others. Now, if the planners are telling me to reduce it to a normal height of any door and window in the street side or other sides, I cannot agree with that, because entrance has to be a little bit different than other doors and windows so that people can know where is the entry of the house. I disagree with that condition, but any other conditions, I am okay. I can do it. I have done it. And this is one of the things that is very important for the owners also. And I hope you will allow me to keep that height. Other than that, everything else. But by the way, I think I have to mention the issue of the garage. According to the zoning code, we have to have about 18-foot open space in front of the garage. Existing garage that we have in the house doesn't have it. It opens right to the street. And in recent projects that I have been designing, it was recommended to have garage, not only to have that 18 feet, which is a code, but also for design board, they don't want that to face the street. This is one of the problems with the existing garage, and it is not connected to the house. And when they come late home and they park the car in the garage, you have to walk outside the garage and enter to the house. It's not safe and it's not a convenience. Other than that, if you have any other questions, I can hopefully be able to respond to those.
Thank you, Mr. Goboin. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicants? Board Member Smith.
Thanks very much. And this is your architect going to be speaking?
Yes.
Is this the okay, thanks. So I have a few questions, and I
barely hear you because we are using a cellular phone. I hope the battery will not be running out of power, and somehow I will put pressure in my ears to hear what you mentioned.
Could you turn up the volume? I can't really turn my microphone up.
No, we cannot turn the volume. That's the volume is to maximum right now. We were in the screen, but one of a sudden it's gone. My name is there, but the camera light is not on, and I don't know why.
There's a start and stop my video. It's the second thing on the bottom from the left.
The start, it says connect video.
There's stop video, start video.
It says use computer for audio. or call in?
Ed, I think we're just going to have to work. You just have to be very, very quiet, and hopefully you can hear Board Member Smith.
Yes, I am quiet.
Okay, good.
Thanks very much. So I appreciate absolutely, like all of us, how long you've been working with city staff to come up with this plan. I have first easy finish questions from sheet A5. The stucco is shown as ColorTech 419 Light Toast, which is just a color, not a finish. I'll give these all in. Okay, go ahead. So what is the proposed stucco finish?
Smooth.
And can that be on the plans?
I think it should be there. If it's not, I can add it. It's a smooth stucco.
Okay, thank you very much. My second question is regarding the entry door.
Yes.
So it's dark bronze. It has an eyebrow top with operable glass, so they open the two doors.
I am looking into a copy of the
Sure, it's sheet
11 by
A5.
17 sheets. We do not have that transom on top of the entry door, as far as I can see in black and white, and then colored one. It's just the door.
So, okay, so where it says eyebrow top operable glass is incorrect.
And it should be incorrect. What happens during the process, sometimes we make changes and then we forget to correct the notes on it.
Thanks very much.
But just to clarify, Board Member Smith, I'm having trouble seeing that on sheet 5. Could you help me?
Sheet A5, the architectural finishes are in a box with circled numbers that are 1 through 9. 4
Okay.
is the stucco. 6 is the entry door. So I wanted to clarify that the entry door isn't wood, it's wrought iron with glass. So because the detail isn't provided.
Yeah.
And
this kind of things we can incorporate in our plans. If something is missing with the planners, we can take care of it. And I agree with whatever you want me to do.
Going back to sheet A4, where we do see a relatively simple elevation of the window, or I'm sorry, of the doors, I assume there's a missing transom, and I assume that's the operable element that we're talking about. Is that true?
As I said, during the process, this was changed, and we forgot to correct the note.
Right, but Mr. Hagopian, we need to nail this down so the board understands what this door will look like. So I just want to clarify that the operable part will be a transom rather than part of the door. And then it looks like what we're looking at is probably a steel door with glazing in the upper section with a little curve on it. And are you proposing wrought iron bars also on that door? Or just glass?
But there will not be the top portion that you are talking about, that circular thing is not going to be there.
The transom. Okay, so no transom.
Transom, yeah.
Do these doors have glass and ironwork on them, or are they just solid paneled doors?
Yeah, that is a glass door with the ironwork in front of it.
So then perhaps the board members will give us some guidance in terms of what they would like to see at these doors. That will be helpful.
Okay, fine.
It's not clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Platt. And I have a few more little questions stemming from this architectural finishes box. I will get back to the entry door, so maybe consider why
I can hear you in my screen.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We hear many of you.
And if you can see us on the computer, Mr. Hagopian, now you have to turn down the sound on your phone.
No, I don't see you in the screen, but I
You have to
can hear you now in my screen.
turn down the sound on your screen,
I can
please.
hear you. We have turned on the cell phone.
Maybe we
But
can
I
mute
can
him.
see you in the cell phone.
Okay, well, why don't we let Board Member Smith finish her comments, and then we can come back to you for any comments afterwards. That probably will make this a little smoother.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Platt. So on the architectural finishes number 8, which is garage door, it is described as oil rubbed bronze with Flemish glass. So it's my question is whether or not it is a decorative wrought iron garage door.
Just a second. This garage door. It's a metal door. Yeah.
So is it something like metal with recesses to create panels? On the architectural finishes, it says oil rub bronze wrought iron with Flemish glass.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I think it's very clear that wrought iron is not what is accurate here. We're going to be getting a metal, probably a steel door with an oil rub bronze finish and glazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what Flemish glass is, to be honest.
oh, it's sort of wavy.
Okie dokie.
So those are my questions about the finishes. Thank you very much for the
don't have
answers.
this, but I think yeah, it's a kind of grooves in the door. In the small scale, when you draw these plans, you cannot, the computer will not show the groove in that scale. So it is kind of vertical grooves on the door.
I believe it's mimicking a vertical board garage door, and then it has lights above.
Hello?
Thank you very much. So my other question is whether or not the owners and their architect considered adding to the existing house. And if you could tell us about that.
Mr.
Mr.
Hagopian.
Hagopian? Mr. Hagopian, do you hear us? There was the question that was asked. Did you consider adding to the home instead of demolishing it and building new?
I hear you, but do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
No, that is not an option that the owners wants to do.
I'm not sure if I said what was in my notes. I was curious why.
Well, that's too small and doesn't fit the family's expectation.
So an addition would not work. Well, that's what I don't understand. I'm sorry.
No, it will not. No.
Why?
It will not work. No. Yeah.
Second story.
That's the lifestyle they have, and they want to have what they want to.
Right. What I asked is why an addition was not considered if it's too small for the family, the existing house. I would just like to hear in words.
We did not really study the addition to the existing condition because the
Ed, we've lost you. Ed, we can't hear you.
Hello? Yes. Do you hear me?
We hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now in my screen, my computer.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So the question to you is if you have any other explanation for why an addition couldn't have met the needs of your client.
Thank you.
Because the configuration of the existing house with the garage is in a way that they have to make a lot of demolishings, a lot of roof connection, and that will cost them a lot of money, and the result will not be what they lifestyle they want to have it. We have next door lot, another big house right next to the east of this house. They have done it, and they have done it without the architectural articulation of the upper level to have setbacks, and it's a big house, and this is next to that. And when you're next to a big house that is much larger than you, then you lose the value of your house. And that's not the lifestyle they have.
So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Board Member Chugai?
Yes, I also had a couple questions on the finishes. The fascia is being called out, I believe, in the text as brown, but the renderings are white. Which one is the intention?
It will be brown. It in the colored rendering, it is lighter color, but it will be brown. Yes.
Okay. And then what about the downspouts? They're not shown in the renderings?
Downspout we haven't shown, but we will add, and that can be taken care with the city planners. We can show them where we want to add the downspouts.
Right, but the intended color for those?
We'll keep it the same color of the fascia, dark brown.
Okay. And then one more question about the driveway.
Yes.
It looks like you're not keeping the existing curb cut. Was there a reason why you had to create a new, longer driveway? Would it not have worked to keep the existing?
First of all, when we have as a zoning code, turning radius is 25 feet. So we have to design in a way that the cars can turn in 25 feet radius. And when they turn, then they have to face the garage, and there has to be a space in front of it.
Understood. I guess I meant why you didn't keep the orientation of, for example, what the existing garage is doing currently, facing the street, and you just pull in.
So you that to the garages and push it towards the south.
Just a question, the thought process behind it, if that was not explored.
we waiting for an answer from Mr. Hagopian?
To hear you. I don't know what you asked. Hello?
We're here.
Yes. I was asking about the garage orientation, if you explored just entering the garage the same way the existing one for the home is, facing
As
the street.
I think I mentioned that according to the new code, garage cannot face the street unless if it goes back to 18 feet. Can you imagine if the garage just goes 18 feet, it would be in the middle of the backyard?
Understood. Okay.
I believe what Mr. Hagopian is referring to is the requirement for an 18-foot driveway, actually. So it'd be the driveway minimum length that he's referring to.
Okay. That helps. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Do we have any callers on the matter?
One moment.
By the way, I mentioned that corridor to the street is not the best option for the design review board and for planning department. And they always ask me to design it is not facing the street.
Okay.
Hello?
Billy, if you're talking to us, you're muted. So.
Hello?
Ed, we're good.
Stand by.
Yeah.
Julia, we can't hear you.
Yes, I am checking with our computer system and it appears there are no callers. So I've just received confirmation that no, we do not have any callers on this project.
Okay, very good. Okay, so with that, we can close the public hearing, and we can, unless there are any other questions from board members, we can move on towards deliberations. So, board member Chagayan, would you like to lead us off tonight?
If you don't mind, I'd like to go
Second.
second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Board member Smith, go ahead.
Yes. Chair Welch, before we begin the board's deliberations, I believe board member Smith had a question regarding the neighborhood survey. There was a question sent right before the meeting, and I responded via email regarding that particular item. And I just wanted to make sure that board member Smith's comment was addressed and in regards to. Yes, I see her typing, so I'm not sure, or wishing to speak, so please. Was it adequately addressed but with the additional information I provided or not? We can't hear you.
You're on mute.
I was giving the sort of sign. Sure. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
should I?
Yes, let us proceed with deliberations. So you have the floor, board member Smith.
Thank you very much. So I want to begin my comments with the fact that I am absolutely not opposed to a larger house being here. I am not opposed to a project like this. I do think that this project has a lot of issues with consistency with the plans, which among the plans, which leaves a lot of sort of important details to the winds. I wanted to talk about the fact that the house next door is really large and is 2 stories, and that there is a perception that it reduces the value of this property. While I'm not debating the subject, I'm not very impressed with that that argument. I also I live like the other board members in the mean streets of Glendale. I walk from my car to my house almost every day, and I don't see the great need for the house and the garage to be connected. We don't have strong winters. We don't have giant rains usually. We don't have hurricanes. And the idea that it's a security concern was a little, how can I say, not very inspiring. So to me, I think that the average houses in the neighborhood are small scale, single story. The few outliers that are 2 stories don't establish a precedent and aren't really a pattern within the neighborhood. In the comprehensive design guidelines, which we're charged with ensuring a project follows, it says under 1.1 design review purpose and process, it says the purpose is to ensure that new development is of high quality and that it relates well to its surrounding context. I have a hard time believing that the proposed project as proposed at this size truly relates to its existing context, in that there are just a few very large houses in the neighborhood. The zoning code also states that part of the purpose is to ensure that single family design is compatible with the character inherent within the surrounding neighborhood. So that clearly says that not just a very few dissimilar recently constructed homes that may or may not be well suited with the established low scale character doesn't really, it doesn't make it a precedent that should necessarily be followed. The proposed design is about 800 square feet more than the average residence in the immediate neighborhood. I see that the lot is considerably smaller than the average, although I saw that there are some extremely large lots that sort of throw off that analysis. I see that the setback is a little bit less than the average as well. So under site planning and design, in the design guidelines under 1.6 site planning and design, it says, it talks about the design of any project should be in relationship to its context. That doesn't mean one side. That doesn't mean only the new houses in the neighborhood. It means the whole neighborhood. It talks about reinforcing a sense of place, that new development, including renovation and additions, should be sited and configured to provide an appropriate response to the surrounding context in arrangement on the site. So I feel like this is a very large house on this lot. 1.6.3 asks what the development pattern is on the surrounding blocks, talking about size and shape of individual lots. I noticed some of the few older 2-story houses were sort of story and a half, where the second floor is nestled into the first floor, so that they're really they don't have as much height. There are some period revival houses in the neighborhood that have very tall peaks. I noticed they are also single family. So the scale and proportion under 1.7.4 should be appropriate to the surrounding context. So with regard to the monumental entrance, I do believe that this is extremely monumental. People find single family homes front doors all the time that don't have double doors, that don't have ironwork. I'm not saying people can't have either. I'm just saying that this seems extremely decorative and calls a lot of attention to itself. It's sort of not exactly a team player within the neighborhood. So that that monumentality, which was discussed, reducing it by continuing that that roof over the front entry, I think would really help. I'm struggling with the idea of double leaves on the door when one door would suffice. I hope that the property owner and the architect might consider a single door and maybe a side light. We talked about that in another neighborhood just the last week, and it was a neighborhood with houses of the sizes and the heights of the a lot of, I think, the predominant scale in the neighborhood. The detailing, unfortunately, because of the disagreement among plans and elevations and so forth, just gets to be a little bit worrisome. I agree that the second floor windows, I think, should be a little bit different in order to create a hierarchy where there may be larger windows on the lower floor and smaller windows and perhaps a different type on the second floor. In following the architect's concept of sort of a nouvelle interpretation of Spanish colonial revival, while the plans may not be entirely complete, I would strongly recommend that true divided lights, or at least some grids, be used to articulate the proposed variety of windows, not all the windows, but certain windows. I think it could really help. I'm curious about the large amount of ironwork. If the railings at the front, I'm interpreting them as being straight and plain, and I think that may be appropriate to have as a condition rather than leaving these many details to the four winds. I also I would just recommend that the detail at the top of the chimney maybe be left off. I think that this property calls a large amount of attention to itself as proposed. It's a perfectly okay design. If there's a very large 2-story house in my historic district, for your information, and it doesn't really reduce the importance or even the estimated value of the rest of the houses. It just looks a little bit like it's too big for the neighborhood. So in closing, I would say I do not believe that the proposed design as we have it really meets the intent of the comprehensive design guidelines. I think it could be dialed down in places, and it would just fit into the neighborhood a lot more cleanly. And including to that point, the lighting design, there are some little places where carriage lamps are shown, but there's no information about finishes, materials, heights, or models. So I think that should, as is often a condition of approval, I think that should be included. So those are my few comments.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Chagai?
Yes, thank you, Chair Welch. So I, like my board member Smith mentioned, we appreciate and understand the amount of time and effort that it took for you to get to this stage, to present this to us at the DRB level. But like she mentioned, I don't necessarily think using the argument of the house immediately next door is reason enough to say, you know, that we have to approve it because they have a large entrance. And, you know, design is subjective, and maybe back then it was approved for whatever reasons. And but just gonna jump and dive into the conditions that were already placed on the project, which I pretty much agree with all of them. and I would add a couple more. As Board Member Smith mentioned, I do think the exterior lighting should be a condition of approval because it can, depending on the scale and the type and the quantity, change the look of the house. Overall, I think the front and the rear design of the home seems a little bit more cohesive and worked out versus the sides. And in particular, the side, because it's a corner lot, the side on Elm Avenue, Elm Avenue, is just as important as the front. And currently, the way it's appearing seems a little flat, and a little detail is going to go a long way. Adding that sill detail, which I'm glad we pointed out, will make such a big difference. I see the detail of the rafter tails. That adds a little something. I see the arched, niche in the entryway, which adds a little character. I would agree with the windows on the left-hand side when we're looking at it in the front. I also would agree with Board Member Smith's comment about the chimney. It seems a little bit too grand. So with that said, and by lowering the main entryway, you could add a window above it for the stairway, which would help. And then looking at the side, on the Elm Avenue side, I noticed the two upper balconies have like pony walls, solid walls as part of their balcony. It might be a privacy thing, but it has wrought iron towards the front. I would suggest maybe carrying the wrought iron, opening it up a little bit, wrapping that all the way around so that it's not just more wall, which I think it would benefit you to have a little bit less of. Again, on the Elm Avenue side, the back porch appears to have a 5-foot tall railing or guardrail, which I think is more than you need. And underneath it, there's like a scallop detail of an opening that is just a different language than appears anywhere else. So I would say lose that wall and have it be, again, open rail or wrought iron. Keep consistent with the vocabulary and the language that you're using elsewhere. And then on the rear elevation, the small opening, which I believe is just above the barbecue area, feels a little disproportionate compared to the other arches. The side walls are much larger than I think where you have other arched openings. So if you maintain that proportionality, it'll help lessen the mass, I think. So again, I think I'm not opposed to, the size of house. You are going with the 30% and not maximizing with the 40% of the lot, which I could appreciate, but I do think it's missing some detail work that would help really, put a bow on it and tie it together from an overall architectural design perspective. I think that was the extent of my comments. Thank you.
Before I start, can I just ask a clarifying question for you, Board Member Giant? When you made reference to the arches at the rear, can you clarify what you meant? I didn't quite follow.
Sure. On A5, which is just the black and white drawing, or even 5.1, if you look at the right-hand side on the lower level, that is not indoor space. That's the outdoor, I believe, barbecue covered patio or porch area.
Right.
So that arched opening feels a little out of proportion to me when compared to, for example, the front, or something about because it's such a small mass, And then the side walls are, I think, much too large. Would benefit, for me anyway, to open it up a little bit more.
So just to be clear,
have like wooden posts, supporting the structure or something like that?
Even that, I mean, or if it stays the stucco, because I think that's consistent everywhere else, it would be fine. It's just the proportionality of the sidewall width in comparison to the entirety of the wall.
So if I understand, what we'll put down is we'll widen the openings and narrow the adjoining stucco kind of legs that are holding up the roof. Is that more or less it?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Chair Welch, would you mind if I show this on the screen then, so that we all can confirm that we are speaking regarding?
Sure.
Okay, 1 second. There you are.
No, we're not seeing that screen. We're seeing a different screen.
You're seeing a different screen.
We're seeing Lizette's name in letters.
All right, then the 1 second, please, because that is probably.
I think we're pretty clear on this.
You're pretty clear on that, Jay?
Yeah.
All right.
Two of me, no.
No?
There were two of me. I don't like that.
No. Okay. So, well, if the board is confident that staff is able to address the conditions, then I will not show the screen.
Okay. All right. So let me give my comments. I also appreciate the length of time that it takes for a design to go through our design review process, and it is unfortunate, but it is also a reality of life in modern day Glendale with our design guidelines, which is what we are here to enforce on behalf of the city of Glendale. I also am sad that the cute little house can't be preserved. I understand it is the property owner's prerogative whether or not to seek some designation, historic designation for the property. And I don't know whether this would meet the standards for that generally, but I do recognize that it is a very cute house, and it would have been nice to have seen that design kept and expanded upon with a second story addition, well integrated, and respecting the historical nature of the house. But alas, that is not our prerogative to determine either. So we must respond to what we have presented to us. And generally speaking, as my fellow board members, I concur with staff's conditions by and large. I think that they did a proper analysis of this design, and I think their recommendations, along with some additional conditions that it sounds like we're going to be adding here, will make it work. For my part, I wanted to just also jump on the lighting issue. We need to see a detail on that. Nothing was included on the material board, and there are just too many of them called out in these elevations. I counted a total of 16 of them marked out, including on the 6-foot setback side facing the nearest property. So that just seems an excessive amount of sconces, especially because I also expect that there will be, canned lights underneath the porch ceilings, providing exterior light as well. So I don't want this house to become, a blazing beacon of lights in the neighborhood. So I think that the applicant needs to work with staff to come up with a lighting plan that is more responsive. I definitely concur with staff on that window on the front facade, upper left. It should be made at least square, or preferably a more vertical orientation. And I concur also with the porch. The porch is, as designed here, is quite monumental. I think that's notwithstanding the fact that other design review boards in the past might have approved more monumental entryways. This board, I don't think, is in favor of that. I think we want it to be brought in line with the existing porch loggia that's existing there. Both of them can be made a little bit more in alignment there, so that it's, rather than being only a 5-foot wide porch, it can be made a little bit wider, and so you meet in the middle somewhere. But the notion should be that the roof line stays consistent across that, rather than having a 1.5-story hipped roof feature above the front entryway. Let's see, I concur about making sure we include the sill detail in elevations. It had been noted about the fascia color, so perhaps we should make a note in conditions that the fascia color should be represented as that dark brown color. On the chimney cap, I mean, I don't mind it. I actually kind of like that kind of style, but if the other board members feel that it should be deleted, I'm okay with that. I concur with the iron railings as suggested by board member Chagayan. I think that that will help those walls on the side. And let's see here. And I think I can also concur with your suggestions on the rear porch area by the kitchen. But I think I noted Ms. Board Member Smith potentially having a different opinion. So I'll leave it there and let Board Member Smith chime in if she wanted to speak on that more.
I'll leave it where it is. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So with that, will somebody like to make the motion, or should we have staff read back to us what they think we are, proposing here, and then we can move it? Okay.
Please, yes. I didn't hear concurrence that the house, there's a general sense that the house is big, but I didn't hear anyone say that it should be reduced in size specifically. I know Board Member Smith thinks it's too big, and I heard other discussion, but no condition came out in my notes. Is that something to consider or to have as a condition? And if so, I also didn't hear about massing except at the kind of the front porch, which we addressed, and then and a little bit at the rear porch. Those are tied together. So any guidance you could give us would be appreciated, or we can accept it as it is and fine tune the envelope that we've been looking at. So should I move on while you ponder that?
Okay.
Okay. Board Member Smith mentioned having one entry door, possibly with side lights rather than the double door. That's consistent with lots of our other guidance on many other properties. So
I concur with that.
Okay. Single door. Board Member Smith suggested that the windows, or at least some of the windows, should have grids. I didn't hear anyone else bring that up.
Sorry, I must have missed that. I have no problems with mullions. It will bring character.
Okay, so we'll an appropriate pattern for the window styles. Board Member Smith, you said on some, but not necessarily all windows. That's not usually what we do. So do you have guidance for us?
I would prefer all, and what I think you missed, and I know you're having a busy day, was the recommendation that they be actual true divided lights. The grids are not really a recommendation. I think I just mumbled that at the end.
Yeah, unfortunately, it will be very hard for them to meet Title 24 energy requirements with true divided lights. So, and it's extremely rare for anyone to spec that for a new house.
There are dual glazed true divided lights in every window catalog.
They exist with very heavy mullions, and it's possible, but let's see if we don't need to go back and forth on it. Is there any agreement from your colleagues? Or
I concur with grids, but I also feel that true divided light is probably too onerous.
Yeah, it would deviate radically from so many previous approvals that we'd have to have a really good reason to do that. So we'll have simulated divided lights with Mutton. Staff will work with the architect to develop an appropriate grid pattern. I think I heard concurrence from both board members Smith and Chagayan about simplifying the design of the ironwork, something a little plainer than what we have. So we'll simplify ironwork. Sorry, I'm taking many notes. I think we had a 2-3 vote on the chimney shroud to remove the chimney shroud. Is that where things stand? Okay. We heard that we need to have a lighting plan proposed, and that plan should not only have appropriately designed and finished light fixtures, but also the number should be reduced, which is very typical of what we do. We try to minimize light fixtures to places where there are entry points or possible safety issues, but not all over the place. So we'll get a lighting plan. And still working down, the staff condition we had about the windowsills. Everyone agreed about the entry. The rear porch, change the proportions of the walls and the arched openings. And we all agreed on the second floor window change at the front. And I think that's everything that I've got.
Real quick, just to clarify that scallop detail on, or I should ask my fellow board members if they're in agreement with lowering that side wall on the Elm Avenue side and losing that scallop detail, and is that part of the railing condition that you read off?
No, that was just for the ironwork. I would just ask that you consider that this is on a very, a side facade that's very close to the street, and we worked with the applicant to create that opening to kind of break up the mass of that wall, but still provide privacy from the street to that kind of porch area.
Okay.
So that was the direction we gave them from the staff level. But if you'd like it to be either ironwork or you've got other ideas, any condition.
Or there's something about the off-centering of it. Yeah, I think the ironwork should match other ironwork details and not be its sort of own vocabulary, but maybe it's just.
I don't think that it's ironwork. I think it was more of a terracotta kind of.
Yeah, those are terracotta roof tiles, I believe, or something like that, kind of in the scallop pattern.
Right.
It's actually a cool detail when you see it.
Yeah, I think I missed it in the rendering. It's obscured with a tree. So.
But I see what you're saying about the offset. What if that detail were centered rather than offset the way it is?
There's something that's off about it. Yeah.
Okay. Center.
And I'm assuming that white trim would be brown as well. Everywhere white.
Oh, right.
Brown.
I'm sorry. I didn't make that as a condition. So brown trim.
And go ahead, Board Member Smith, if you wanted to add into the.
Excuse me. Just one quick thing. In addition to the front doors being a single door, I just want to verify if the board was okay with this being a steel door with glazing and iron, which is something we see on a lot of these houses. We work hard at the staff level to simplify that ironwork, so it tends to not be the Versailles curlicues as much. But if you have any comments on that, we'd appreciate it.
I would strongly recommend the ironwork be simple in the front door and and have some reference to the other ironwork, which would be simple. So
that makes sense.
I was going to echo Commissioner Chagayan's idea about the height of that wall with the roof tile detail, that it could be lowered and be more friendly to the street rather than like a castle.
Okay, let me just. Okay, the proposal is 5 feet. The minimum height would be 3.6 at that point. So would you like it to be minimized or brought down to 4 feet, or do you have any specific guidance?
I think bringing it down to the minimum sounds good to me.
Okay, and then we'll just, at that point, we'll just make sure that it doesn't affect the proportions of the opening, but we'll go for the minimum height, 3.6. And then was there something else, Mr. Walsh?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great.
Okay, so it sounds like we have consensus there. So would somebody like to move the motion? Board Member Smith.
Thank you. I move that we approve the project with the numerous conditions provided in the staff report, as well as the amended conditions described by Mr. Platt.
I second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Board Member Smith,
No.
Board Member Chagayan,
Yes.
Chair Welch.
Yes.
The motion passes 2-1.
Okay, I believe that's the end of our business for tonight. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Right.
Seconded.
Thank you.
All right, we are
Good night,
adjourned.
everyone.
Okay.